Welcome to Stories with Grandma Selene, where every tale carries a lesson, a warning, and a whisper of African wisdom passed down through generations. Today we bring you the story titled, If Only I Knew I Would Have Married Him. A heartbreaking journey of love seen too late, pride whispered too loudly, and a destiny that slipped through a young woman's fingers before she understood its value. Follow us from the luxurious corners of Lagos, where gates open at the touch of a button, to the quiet streets where simple men work with honest hands and sincere hearts. Here we meet Lucy, a woman raised in comfort, and Stephen, the gentle soul whose presence felt like peace. Their paths crossed by grace, their hearts connected without effort. But sometimes the loudest voices are not the ones in the heart, but the ones around it. Friends became critics, pride became her compass, and Lucy found herself choosing reputation over destiny. Only when the truth revealed itself, painfully, silently, unmistakably, did she whisper the words she would never forget. If only I knew, I would have married him. Lucy never imagined love would come wrapped in simplicity. She grew up in a world where gates opened automatically, cooks prepared meals, and cars lined the driveway like decorations. So when Stephen walked into her life, soft-spoken, gentle, and smelling faintly of engine oil, it felt strange, but it felt right. They met at a community outreach her church organized. While others came for photos and social prestige, Stephen was actually working. He served food, cleaned up spills, and made everyone feel seen. Lucy found herself staring, wondering how someone so humble carried such quiet dignity. Their conversations flowed effortlessly. Stephen didn't pretend, didn't brag, didn't chase. He simply existed with a sincerity she couldn't ignore. Within weeks, Lucy felt a warmth she'd never experienced with any rich boy her parents introduced her to. But simplicity has enemies. Shola noticed first, Mercy followed, Divine concluded it. Lucy, what are you doing with him? You're dating beneath your level. Your family is respected, don't stain your name. Lucy tried to defend him. She tried to explain how peaceful he made her feel, how real everything seemed around him. But their voices grew louder until they became her thoughts. And one single statement from Mercy began poisoning her heart. His mother sells foodstuffs in the market. Is that what you want to marry into? In that moment, Lucy felt the first crack in her happiness. Lucy's friends didn't stop. They turned her 3-month relationship into a topic of daily ridicule. Lucy, imagine bringing him to your father's housewarming. He will look lost. Can he even buy you the kind of gifts Nickolas buys his girlfriend? Look at your upbringing, look at his, it doesn't match. It wasn't advice, it was pressure disguised as concern. The worst part was that Lucy trusted them. Shola, the most influential of the group, always spoke with authority. Mercy was the connector, the social butterfly. And Divine, she simply followed the loudest voice in the room. Lucy found herself torn between her heart and her reputation. Stephen never knew what was happening behind the scenes. He continued treating Lucy with tenderness, sending her thoughtful messages, walking her to her car after work, and praying for her success. But every act of love felt like a battle against the voices in Lucy's head. One evening, after a long talk with her friends, Lucy walked into her room, closed the door, and whispered the sentence she had feared. Maybe they're right, maybe he really is beneath me. And just like that, her friends' opinions became more powerful than her own feelings. A storm was brewing, and Stephen had no idea. Lucy rehearsed the breakup speech for hours. She paced, she cried, she wiped her tears, then cried again. It wasn't that she didn't love Stephen, she loved him more than she admitted. But she was too afraid of disappointing her circle, too afraid of looking less than. When Stephen arrived at her house that evening, he came with a small brown bag. Inside it was a handmade journal. On the first page he had written, "To the woman who makes my tomorrows worth dreaming about." Lucy's heart twisted painfully. "Stephen, we need to talk," she said softly. The conversation felt like knives. She told him she needed space. She told him they weren't compatible. She told him they came from different worlds. She told him everything except the truth, that her friends had rewritten her feelings. Stephen stood still, like someone whose soul had just been pushed out of their body. "Lucy, is this what you really want?" he asked. She nodded, unable to speak. He swallowed hard, blinked slowly, and whispered, "I pray life gives you happiness, even if it's not with me." When he walked away, Lucy felt her chest tighten, as if something precious had slipped out of her fingers. Her friends celebrated the breakup. They said she had escaped embarrassment. But Lucy felt hollow. And that hollowness was only beginning. 1 month after the breakup, Mercy excitedly introduced Lucy to Nickolas, the senator's son. Tall, bold, confident, dripping in wealth. The kind of man people whispered about when he entered a room. "Lucy, this is your level," Mercy declared proudly. Nickolas knew how to charm. He showered her with expensive gifts, invited her to exclusive parties, and paraded her like a trophy. Lucy felt flattered. She felt admired, but she didn't feel seen, not the way Stephen saw her. Still, everyone around her applauded. Her parents approved, friends celebrated, society validated her choice. And validation is addictive. Within a year, Nickolas proposed. The engagement was luxurious. Lights, cameras, a ring that sparkled like royalty. Lucy smiled for photos, hugged well-wishers, and pretended her chest wasn't tightening with discomfort. Meanwhile, life dealt Stephen a different hand. He married quietly, he won a scholarship, he left for London to study further and build a career. No noise, no announcement, just purpose. Lucy heard these things in passing, but she forced herself to ignore the sting in her heart. After all, she had upgraded. Hadn't she? Marriage to Nickolas was a glittering prison. At first, Lucy tried to convince herself she was happy. The house was big. The cars were shiny. The vacations were beautiful. Her social status soared. But Nickolas's true character didn't take long to show. He partied constantly, slept out often, drank heavily, and chased anything in a skirt. Every scandal in town had his trace. Every rumor pointed to him. Every warning sign screamed at Lucy. But she endured. Friends who once celebrated her engagement now pitied her secretly. Her smiles became rehearsed, nights became lonely, arguments became normal. 5 years passed like 5 heavy decades. Then one Saturday, Lucy stepped into a mall to buy a gift for her niece. She wasn't expecting anything unusual. But fate had its own agenda. A familiar voice called behind her. A voice she once knew deeply. A voice she had pushed away. "Lucy, is that you?" She turned. And standing there, handsome, refined, glowing with quiet success, was Stephen. Beside him stood a woman Lucy recognized from years ago. Her heart froze. Her past had returned. But it had returned transformed. For a moment, Lucy felt like time paused inside the bright hallway of the mall. She stared at Stephen, older, refined, confident, nothing like the gentle, timid boy she once knew. His shoulders were broader, his voice deeper, his presence commanding yet peaceful. "Stephen," Lucy breathed, her voice barely a whisper. He smiled politely, not with pain, not with bitterness, just calm warmth, and that calmness broke something inside her. "This is my wife, Adjora," he said, turning to the woman beside him. Lucy's breath caught. "Adjora." Yes, Adjora. The same girl from secondary school who wore oversized uniforms and second-hand shoes. The quiet girl everyone overlooked. The girl many laughed at. But now, she was stunning, graceful, elegant, glowing with quiet pride. The kind of woman whose confidence came from battles won in silence. Adjora greeted Lucy gently. No pride, no gloating, just kindness. Lucy forced a smile, pretending her stomach wasn't tying itself into painful knots. She noticed the wedding ring on Adjora's hand, simple but powerful. The kind of ring chosen by a man who valued meaning over show. "Wow, it's been a long time," Lucy said, her voice shaking slightly. Stephen nodded. "Yes, life has been kind. We came back to take my mother with us." Lucy blinked. Take his mother to London. Her heart sank deeper. Everything she once looked down on had risen without her. Lucy tried to stay composed, but every sentence Stephen spoke felt like a mirror showing her a version of life she could have had. "My scholarship completed 2 years ago," Stephen said casually. "Now I work with a tech consulting firm in London." Scholarship, London, career, all the things her friends said he would never achieve. Adjora added gently, "We're only around for his sister's wedding, then heading back. Stephen wants his mum to come with us permanently. She deserves comfort after all her years in the market. Lucy's chest tightened. The same market woman they mocked. Comfort. London. It didn't make sense. It didn't feel fair. It didn't feel real. Stephen turned to Ajiora, helping her adjust a shopping bag. You're tired, love, let's sit for a moment. Love. That simple word hit Lucy harder than a slap. She watched how he held his wife, not with ownership like Nickolas, but with honor, with tenderness, with genuine partnership. A partnership she once tasted. A partnership she abandoned. Trying to escape her own thoughts, Lucy asked, "So, how long have you two been married?" 4 years, Stephen replied, "best years of my life." Ajiora smiled shyly. Lucy felt something inside her collapse. She had chosen a life of appearances. Ajiora had chosen a life of value. And Stephen had chosen wisely. That night, Lucy lay awake in her luxurious bedroom, staring at the ceiling, hearing Stephen's voice replay in her mind. She should have been sleeping. Nickolas wasn't home as usual, giving her the silence she once begged for, but silence felt different now, heavier, crueler. Regret is loud when the world is quiet. She remembered Stephen's handmade journal, his prayers, his gentleness, his hope-filled dreams. She remembered how he looked at her like she hung the moon. And she remembered how easily she threw it all away. Because of friends. Because of status. Because of pride. Tears slipped down her cheeks. 5 years ago, she left a man who would have treasured her. For a man who treated her like an accessory. While Stephen rose, Nickolas fell deeper into the pit of nightlife. Every week brought a new scandal. Every month a new rumor. Every day a new disappointment. Lucy wondered what her life could have been if she hadn't listened to her friends. Would she be in London too? Would she be smiling beside him? Would she be respected, loved, valued? She wiped her tears, but they kept coming. For the first time, Lucy realized. The luxury she chose had become poverty. And the simplicity she rejected had become success. The next day, Lucy met with Shola, Mercy, and Divine at a quiet lounge. She needed comfort, but she forgot who she was dealing with. "Guess who I met yesterday?" Lucy began softly. "Who?" they asked, sipping their drinks. "Stephen." The table froze. Shola rolled her eyes. "That boy, why are we talking about him?" "He's not a boy anymore," Lucy whispered. "He's doing very well." "How well?" Mercy asked, her voice sharper than usual. "London well," Lucy said. The shift in the room was immediate. Mercy swallowed, Divine blinked, Shola looked irritated. "And he's married," Lucy added, "to Ajiora, our old classmate." Shola hissed, "Ajiora, that church girl, that dull girl, life is strange." Mercy leaned forward. "So, do you regret leaving him?" Lucy's eyes watered. Shola cut in quickly, "Please, don't start feeling sorry for yourself. Nickolas is still better, Stephen just got lucky." Lucky. That word stung Lucy deeply. Stephen's success wasn't luck. It was character. Hard work. Discipline. Humility. All the things Nickolas lacked. As the conversation went on, Lucy realized something painful. Her friends weren't her support system. They were her downfalls. Their opinions once shaped her life. Now she could clearly see. They never had wisdom. Only pride. Lucy returned home that evening with a heavy heart. As she entered the living room, she heard voices, laughter, clinking glasses, and a woman's giggle. Nickolas wasn't alone. Again. Lucy froze at the door. A strange woman sat on the couch wearing one of Lucy's silk robes. Nickolas didn't even look ashamed. "Lucy, you're back," he said casually, as if she were a visitor. The woman smirked. "Hi." Lucy swallowed her anger. "Nickolas, can we talk outside?" He stood reluctantly, annoyed that she interrupted his fun. Outside, she whispered, "Why do you keep doing this? Don't you have any respect for our home?" Nickolas chuckled coldly. "Respect? Lucy, wake up, this is who I am. You married a senator's son, not a pastor's assistant." Her heart dropped. He wasn't even pretending anymore. "You knew the life you were entering," he added. "Stop acting surprised." Lucy felt numb. That same night she lay in bed listening to the laughter of the other woman echo through the walls. Her hands trembled, her heart ached, her soul felt crushed. At that moment, Lucy finally admitted to herself. She did not upgrade. She downgraded in the most painful way. 2 days after the painful scene at home, Lucy decided to visit her parents. She needed comfort, something steady, something familiar. Her mother welcomed her warmly, but her father, perceptive as always, noticed the heaviness she tried to hide. "You look tired, Lucy," he said quietly at dinner. "Is everything all right?" She forced a smile. "I'm fine, Daddy, just work." But she wasn't fine, and her father knew it. Halfway through dessert, her phone buzzed. It was a photo circulating in their social circle. Nickolas at a nightclub, carrying 2 women on his lap. Laughter, neon lights, bottles, disgrace packaged in one screenshot. Her father frowned. "Is that your husband?" Lucy's throat tightened. She closed the phone quickly. "Daddy, please don't ask." Her mother placed her hand over Lucy. "My daughter, marriage is not supposed to break you." Tears filled Lucy's eyes, but she blinked them away. She wasn't ready to explain. She wasn't ready to accept that she had walked into this with open eyes. Her father said gently, "Your happiness is more important than matching families." Lucy looked at him in shock. If only he had said those words years ago. Maybe she would not have listened to her friends. Maybe she would not be suffering now. That night she left her parents' home with a painful realization. She was living the consequences of her own choices. A week later, Lucy went to a small cafe to clear her mind. As she sipped her coffee, she overheard 2 women at a nearby table whispering excitedly. "Have you heard about Stephen?" "Yes, his company just signed a major international deal. And he bought his mother a house abroad. From market woman to London madam, what a blessing." Lucy squeezed her cup until her fingers trembled. Everything Stephen once softly spoke about, everything she once ignored, was unfolding beautifully. Not because he changed, but because he grew into the man he always had the potential to be. Destiny had carried him forward. Her own choices had held her back. As she stepped out of the cafe, she found herself asking a painful question. If destiny gives you a precious gift, and you throw it away, does it ever come back? A message popped up on her phone. It was from Mercy. "Girl, are you coming for the senator's party tonight? Nickolas will be there. Better dress well so no one disrespects you." Lucy stared at the message. A party. Appearances. Pretense. She felt sick. She typed slowly. "I won't be going." Mercy replied immediately. "Are you all right? You've changed." For the first time, Lucy realized. Changing was the only thing she had left. The cracks in Lucy's marriage widened like a deep wound. One night Nickolas came home drunk again. He laughed loudly, stumbled over the furniture and collapsed on the couch. Lucy approached him with a blanket, trying to maintain some dignity in her home. Nickolas opened one bleary eye. "Why are you still awake? Go to bed." "Nickolas, I can't keep doing this," she whispered. "Doing what?" he slurred. "This is my life, you're lucky I married you." Lucky. The same painful word Shola used about Stephen. Lucy swallowed her pain. "I'm your wife." "Exactly," he muttered, "so act like one and stop complaining." He shifted and something fell out of his pocket, an expensive bracelet, not hers. Lucy's hands trembled as she picked it up. She whispered, "Who does this belong to?" Nickolas chuckled. "Relax, I bought it for someone." "Someone? Not her." Lucy stood there, staring at the bracelet, realizing she had become invisible in her own home. That night she couldn't sleep. She walked around the house she once bragged about, feeling nothing but emptiness. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were tired, her smile was forced, her heart was aching. "How did I get here?" she whispered. But she knew how. She knew exactly how. The next afternoon, Lucy visited an old friend she trusted, Amarka, someone who was never impressed by wealth or status. Amarka opened the door and hugged her tightly. "You look drained," Amarka said gently. Lucy sat down and confessed everything. The breakup with Stephen, the pressure from friends, the glamorous proposal, and now the broken marriage filled with cheating. Amaka listened quietly, her eyes full of compassion. "Lucy," she said finally, "you didn't choose a husband, you chose a lifestyle, and lifestyles can't love you back." That sentence pierced Lucy's heart. Amaka continued, "And your friends, they cared about image, not your peace." Lucy covered her face, sobbing softly. "Amaka, I made a mistake, a big one." "Yes," Amaka said honestly, "but acknowledging it is the first step." Lucy wiped her tears. "I saw Stephen, he's doing so well, he's happy, and his wife, she's everything I'm not right now." Amaka sighed. "You're comparing paths, don't. Life rewards character. Stephen had it, Nickolas didn't, and your friends didn't either." Lucy nodded slowly. For the first time, she finally saw the pattern. She had built her life on the advice of people who had no wisdom. And life had collected its payment. That evening, Lucy arrived home to an empty house again. Nickolas had left clothes scattered on the floor, clearly dressing up for yet another night out. His scent of expensive cologne lingered in the air, mixed with alcohol and carelessness. Lucy walked into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and let her thoughts flood in. She remembered Stephen's steady hands, his gentle eyes, the way he prayed with her, the way he listened, not just heard, the way he treated her like a partner, not a trophy. And she remembered how easily she walked away. The weight of regret crushed her. She sobbed uncontrollably, loud, painful, shaking sobs that felt like 5 years of buried grief escaping all at once. She clutched her chest. Her heart truly hurt. "How did I trade gold for glitter?" she cried. "How did I leave peace for chaos? How did I let people guide me into a life they can't help me survive?" She cried until she couldn't breathe. In the silence that followed, a single truth settled gently but firmly in her soul. She didn't lose Stephen. She lost the version of herself that could have recognized his worth. And that loss was heavier than everything she had endured. 3 days later, Lucy received a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her heart skipped. "Lucy, it's Stephen. My mum insisted we invite you for my sister's traditional wedding. She remembers how kind you were to her years ago. If you can make it, we'll be honored." Lucy sat frozen. Stephen still had that same gentle tone, no bitterness, no pride, no hidden agenda. Just kindness, the kind she used to take for granted. For minutes she stared at the message, unsure if she should go. Would it be awkward? Would Adjora think she had come with ulterior motives? But something deeper called her, the need for closure, the need to face the past she had run away from, and maybe the need to see what true happiness looked like up close. She replied, "Thank you, Stephen, I'll be there." As the day approached, Lucy's anxiety grew. She stood in front of her mirror wearing a simple but elegant gown, not flashy, not loud, just herself. When she arrived at the venue, Stephen's mother hugged her warmly, as if nothing had ever happened. "You were always a good girl," Mama said. "Thank you for coming." Lucy felt tears burn her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt seen not for her status, but for her humanity. Stephen's sister's wedding was vibrant, filled with laughter, music, and the colourful warmth of family. Lucy watched from a quiet corner, observing the beauty of simplicity. No fake smiles, no pretentious conversations, just love. When Stephen and Adjora walked in together, the crowd brightened. They looked like a team, steady, aligned, peaceful, the kind of couple whose bond spoke louder than their clothes or bank account. Adjora approached Lucy with a warm smile. "I'm so glad you came." Lucy nodded shyly. "Congratulations, you both look wonderful." "Thank you," Adjora said. "Stephen has always spoken kindly of you." Those words cut deeply and gently at the same time. Stephen joined them moments later. "Lucy, I'm happy you made it." Hearing her name in his voice again stirred something inside her, a mixture of regret and acceptance. As they spoke, Lucy noticed something. Stephen wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't showing off. He wasn't comparing the past with the present. He was simply whole. And that wholeness humbled her. As the ceremony continued, Lucy felt the truth settle heavily in her chest. She didn't lose Stephen to Adjora. She lost him to his destiny. A destiny she walked away from. Later that evening, Stephen found Lucy sitting alone under a canopy of lights. Can I join you? He asked. Lucy nodded. For a moment they sat in silence, listening to distant laughter and drums. Stephen spoke first. Lucy, I've always hoped you're doing well. She swallowed hard. I wish I could say I am. He turned to her gently. Marriage can be difficult. Her chest tightened. Mine is more than difficult, Stephen, it's empty. Stephen didn't pry, he didn't ask for details. He simply offered compassion instead of curiosity. Life teaches us differently, he said softly, and sometimes the lessons hurt. Lucy's voice cracked. Stephen, I'm sorry. For what? He asked. For breaking your heart, for letting other people decide for me, for everything. He smiled, a forgiving, peaceful smile. Lucy, it's the past, we were young, we were all learning. His calmness shocked her. She expected anger, resentment, something sharp, but Stephen had grown beyond pain. Thank you, she whispered, blinking away tears. Lucy, he said, whatever you're facing now, I pray you find strength and clarity. Those words felt like healing oil on open wounds. In that moment, she finally understood something she'd never seen clearly. Stephen didn't rise because she left him. He rose because he had greatness inside him all along. When Lucy returned home, she found a message waiting in her WhatsApp group chat. Shola. Lucy, what were you doing at Stephen's sister's wedding? People said they saw you. Mercy. Are you trying to go back to him? Don't disgrace yourself. Divine. Lucy, move on, you're married, behave like it. Lucy stared at the messages, shocked by their tone. She replied calmly. I went because his family invited me. Shola immediately responded. Delete that nonsense, you're a senator's daughter, in law, you don't mingle with low standards. Lucy's fingers froze. Low standards. The same man who now lived in London. The same man with a global career. The same man who respected his wife and honoured his mother. She realised her friends were stuck in the mindset she had escaped from. Mercy added, Nickolas may be wild, but at least you are in the right social level. Lucy's anger rose. Social level, she muttered, is that all they care about? She typed slowly and firmly. I've realised something, you three didn't guide me, you misled me, and I'm done letting your opinions shape my life. She left the group. For the first time since her youth, Lucy felt free. That night, Lucy packed a small bag. Not because she planned to run away, but because she needed space. Space to think, breathe, and heal from the suffocating life she had chosen. She left a note for Nickolas on the bed. I'm taking some time for myself, don't call, don't look for me. Lucy. She drove to a quiet guest apartment her cousin owned. No noise, no pressure, no cold stares, just peace. As she sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights, she whispered, I can't keep living like this, I choose myself this time. The breeze felt like freedom. The night felt like clarity. Her heart felt like it was waking up. She thought about Stephen, not because she wanted him back, but because his life showed her what she could have had if she had chosen differently. Respect. Peace. Growth. Partnership. She whispered painfully. If only I knew. For the first time, she wasn't crying from regret alone. She was crying because she finally saw her worth, something she had forgotten long ago. Lucy didn't know where this new path would lead. But she knew one thing. She would never again allow pride, friends, or status to dictate her destiny. The next morning, Lucy woke before sunrise. She brewed tea, opened her journal and started writing, her thoughts, her fears, her regrets, everything. For the first time in years, she was alone with herself without interference from Nickolas, friends, or expectations. She wrote about Stephen, not in longing but in admiration. She admired how he stayed true to himself, how he treated a juror with respect, and how he rose without bitterness. She realized that happiness was never about status, wealth, or appearances. It was about integrity, respect, and love that grew quietly, consistently, and sincerely. Lucy looked in the mirror. Her reflection was unfamiliar. She saw pain, yes, but also clarity and strength. She made a silent vow. No one would control her life again. A few days later, Lucy ran into Stephen again, this time outside the wedding venue. Lucy, he greeted warmly, I didn't expect to see you again. She smiled softly. I needed to see closure. Stephen nodded. You have nothing to apologize for. We were young, life is learning. They spoke briefly, sharing memories of simpler days. The conversation wasn't heavy with regret, it was peaceful, accepting, and honest. As Lucy walked away, she felt a weight lift off her chest. She understood now, she wasn't chasing him anymore, she was chasing herself. Back home, Lucy confronted Nickolas for the last time. She had packed her things and would no longer tolerate disrespect. Nickolas, she said firmly, this marriage is over. I will not live in a house where I am invisible, where respect doesn't exist. He laughed mockingly. Go ahead, Lucy, but don't come back expecting me to care. She walked out without looking back. The chains of 5 years of compromise shattered in that single step. Lucy moved into her cousin's apartment and focused on herself. She reconnected with old passions, traveled lightly, and discovered strength she never knew she had. For the first time, she wasn't defined by her husband, friends, or family expectations. She was her own woman, making her own choices. The memory of Stephen was no longer pain. It was a lesson, a reminder of the consequences of pride and peer pressure. Years later, Lucy would tell herself the words she had repeated in silence for so long. If only I knew, I would have married him. But now the phrase carried both regret and wisdom. She had learned that love, integrity, and character were priceless. She had learned that status and appearances were fleeting. Stephen had lived his life, a Jorah beside him, and Lucy had rebuilt hers. She had found peace, independence, and clarity. Sometimes, destiny comes back to show you what you once threw away. But the real gift is realizing you can create your own destiny from that point forward. Lucy smiled softly, eyes glistening. She whispered, I may have lost him, but I found myself. And in that truth she finally understood. Some losses are blessings in disguise. Lucy stood by the balcony, watching the city lights flicker like the life she had almost thrown away. She whispered to herself, if only I knew, I would have married him. But as she closed her eyes, she realized that life wasn't about regret. It was about lessons, growth, and rediscovering herself. She had lost love, but she had found strength, clarity, and independence. And sometimes that is the greatest story of all. What do you think Lucy should have done differently? Did she truly make the right choice for herself, or did pride cost her everything? Comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to catch more life-changing folktales from our channel.